urban legends,
ghost stories,
folklore, unique history, and whatever makes your town unique. We call them hometown tales because every town has one.
Hometown Tales coming to you today from Vidalia, Georgia, home of the Vidalia Onion, which this is not one of. Anyway, that's not the reason we came. Coming up right now in the Hometown Tales vidcast, the horror of Andersonville.
On the 10th of November, 1865, Confederate Captain Henry Wirz became the only officer of the Civil War to be convicted and hanged for war crimes. Warranted or not, he will be forever vilified as the keeper of one of the most atrocious legacies. He was the commandant of Andersonville Prison. Here, almost 50,000 Union troops were held. Within only 14 months, over 12,000 men would die from starvation, typhoid, diarrhea, and even murder at the hands of other Union prisoners.
In 1863, the exchange system where the North and South would exchange prisoners had broken down, so the numbers started to swell in both northern and southern prisons. Many of the prisoners did not have adequate food. Most of the real bulk of their food source was cornmeal. It was unbolted cornmeal. They did receive other rations as well, but it was not sufficient at all.
There was so much suffering, so many things that took place there, so many people that were housed in that one small area that suffered so much with disease and being exposed to the elements.
Prisoners were being preyed upon because they were weak and defenseless, and they often died from their injuries or were killed in order for those raiders wanted their food rations or their clothing, whatever they had to steal in order to survive.
From the diary of Eugene Forbes, 4th New Jersey Infantry, Tuesday, August 30th, clear and hot. Deaths are still averaging 100 per day. A man was shot near a tent and dies a few moments later. He was quite an old man. Got over the deadline.
Some deaths occurred from people crossing the deadline, either by accident, by purpose, in order to commit suicide. That was the space that prisoners could not enter.
It was a boundary prisoners could not cross. If they did, they were immediately shot by guards. The term originates from Civil War prisons like Andersonville. The horror of Andersonville surely has left some presence. What better place to find a ghost?
I've heard of different ghost stories, and people think this place is haunted.
Though their mortal bodies rest interned in this cemetery, their souls must still roam restlessly, perhaps malignantly, in the phantom stockade walls. Was that what Ed experienced with 10 of his colleagues on a hot August evening?
It was really an eerie experience. It was something that I carry with me the rest of my life. We were invited each year to go down for the torchlight tours to participate and set up an authentic campsite. We got to the compound, we set up our campsite before dark. This was in the late afternoon. As the evening wore on, we felt ourselves getting more and more, I guess you would call, uncomfortable. And there was an eerie sense of foreboding amongst all of us. We even discussed it around the campfire. We talked about it at length about, all the things that had happened down there, and just it made us feel really. I guess the only word you could use would be sad. The voices started as a faint, almost carried on the wind. Is the only way you could describe it. It got louder and louder and louder, and it just increased in volume over a period of about an hour. We all heard it. The only way I can describe it is screams and moans, things that were just, I guess you could say, unearthly. We were all really frightened and didn't want to admit it, really. But I went to sleep, and about an hour later, I woke up and I was sweating. I had just really terribly upset stomach, headache, felt really nauseous.
The rest of Ed's camp experienced the same symptoms despite having cooked and eaten separately. The temperature in the camp dropped instantly nearly 20 degrees. Was something haunting them?
We finally all came to a conclusion, and our conclusion was that whatever these disembodied spirits were of these prisoners at Andersonville, they somehow saw us. They somehow saw us, and we were dressed in Confederate uniforms. We were dressed in our, authentic Confederate gear. Somehow they felt that we were the guards there, and they were trying to get revenge on us for what they had gone through.
Since Ed Crow's encounter in 1984, other encounters have been reported. Mysterious fogs, shadows, gunshot sounds, cold spots, and even sightings of a Civil War soldier walking along the road.
I've often heard that there's a Civil War soldier that comes out in front of you, your car, as you're going around that curve. That's led to a lot of traffic accidents and even some deaths. But some of the survivors have actually said, they saw a Civil War soldier in the middle of the road.
Ironically, we may have found the truth behind the ghostly tale.
They have a party at night in the town of Andersonville, and they let you camp across the road near the prison camp. So after the party's over, we were all in uniform. Everybody was in Confederate uniform. So I'm standing there with my lantern. Well, off in the distance toward America, I see truck headlights. I hold the lantern up toward my face like this, and I'm standing there in pitch dark with a lantern, dressed in a full Confederate uniform, and the truck locks his brakes up, and he slides about 30 feet. So I think, this is hilarious. This guy's got to really have been freaked out. About 2 years later, a friend of mine called me on the phone. He said, I got this great book. It's called Great Georgia Ghost. And he says, you're not going to believe what's in this book.
The Lantern Ghost of Andersonville is one of the most famous of the prison's ghosts. Paranormal entity or just a Civil War reenactor from Alabama?
I am the Lantern Ghost of Andersonville.
You're not going to believe it.
We came to the southwest corner of Georgia because Ed wanted to share his tale. As it turns out, Ed himself is someone else's tale. Few places in this nation bear witness to such inhumanity, like the spirits of thousands of Union soldiers encased in the deadline. As for the Lantern Ghost of Andersonville, you won't find him along the side of Highway 49, because he's alive and well in his hometown of Millbrook, Alabama.